Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Delle. I'm excited that you're here with me today. I'm being guided to discuss bravery and courage. Specifically, the word brave was coming through when I was doing some meditations this morning about how best to come and serve the channel today. So about the topic of being brave, I decided to bring out my Webster's dictionary because I find that words and the way that we use language, because there's meaning and power behind the words that we use and how we communicate with one another and to ourselves. I find it helpful to go back to the dictionary and just go back to the bare bones of what the word is intended to use, as far as language. So this is an English dictionary, so we're sticking with the English language. But the first word I decided to look up was fear, because when I think about bravery, I think about there being the presence of fear, but choosing to do something anyway. And then with that kind of implies that there's courage, there's courageousness that goes with that. So just follow me here. It's interesting what I discovered. So fear is defined as anxiety caused by real or possible danger, pain, etc., fright. It also can mean awe, like to be in awe of someone. It can also mean concern. It can also mean a cause for fear, or to be afraid. So, and then also to expect with misgiving. So I thought that was interesting right off the bat, because I've never thought of being in awe when we're fearful, but in a way that makes a lot of sense, because when we are in fear, and I like that the dictionary actually said and distinguished an anxiety caused by real or possible danger. How often does that happen? Where it's the fear that we perceive to be real may not actually be real at all. And it's actually pretty infrequent or rare, depending where you're at or what your life looks like. I know this is going to be different for everyone, but fear is a natural response in the nervous system to let us know that we're in danger and we need to do something about it. That's why fight or flight or freeze is triggered, and it's stimulated in response to the nervous system being activated in that way, because there's a threat. When you are on an ascension journey, when you are awakening and coming back into harmony with yourself, you'll see too, depending on, again, where you're at, where your circumstances are, it's going to be different for everyone. But if you live in an environment where there isn't much threat going on, it's relatively safe on a day-to-day basis, but you're having fearful things come up, anxiety come up, that's when it comes into that territory of, is it perceived or is it actually real? Is the mind, is the ego creating a narrative about something which causes or incites fear within us? And then to have the component with it that the dictionary talks about with awe is sometimes fear gets blown up so much that we can't really do anything about it. We're in awe of it, but in a negative way. So, and I think the reason why we put the negative judgment on it is because it prevents us from being able to move forward, from doing what our soul naturally wants to do, which is grow and expand and evolve. So it actually would keep you contained. So that's the first word. From there, I went on over to courage. So courage in the dictionary is defined as the quality of being brave. Okay, so then I went over to being brave. And that, let's see, that definition was to be brave is not afraid, having courage, having a fine appearance, any brave man, North American Indian warrior, to face with courage, to defy or to dare. So it's with that, even though it's not said, there's this implication or this thing is being implied that it's to stand in the face of something anyway. So I actually am getting that with bravery comes this ascension out of fear. So there's no longer a fear where you're kind of just doing something to do it, which is kind of how I interpreted courage as before, that there needs to be a little fear. But I think where I was missing this before in defining this for myself in the past was the fear is there so you can overcome it. So it's not that fear is the missing ingredient to being courageous or to being brave, but it can happen like that. I'm noticing too where it's just when faced with something that requires you to be brave, it's actually, I feel like this very sudden shift into, I've overcome that fear, now I'm ready to face that head on, to see it for what it is, to accept it for what it is. So with bravery comes this acceptance for what it is, and then the ability to make a clear decision by looking at it head on. From there, I just went into the word afraid, just to really have a well-rounded approach of everything that I was looking into. And if you'll give me a second. Okay. So afraid, feeling frightened, followed by, so often used colloquially, indicating regret. For example, I'm afraid I must go now. So that also really spoke volumes to me too, because how often are we afraid of the consequences of doing something that's actually in alignment with our true self? Where if there's fear of the egoic mind telling us or constructing a story, whether it's perceived or real, why we should or shouldn't do something, but it's stemming out of a fear response, or rather fear is doing the talking rather than our soul. It produces something very different. But it just was interesting to me that I feel like a lot of times if we make a decision that's soul-led, it will feel good, but the ego will like to come in and kind of sway us or dissuade us from making that soul-aligned decision. And it turns into, I'm afraid I'm doing the right thing, or I'm afraid I'm doing the wrong thing, because the consequences of that might require you normally to let go of something. So if we're ascending out of something, or we're choosing something that's soul-led, not everything from that lower vibration or the kind of energy we used to reside in, we once resided in, that was more of a dense fear-based energy. There's this regret of, well, if I go this way where my soul's leading me, what about over here, what's going to happen? And they're showing me the turning of the head like that is all ego, it's all fear. So there's this inclination I'm getting, even though fear is usually a projection of what's going to happen, it often stems from something you're remembering, something you're clinging onto, or something that lingers from the past that still has a hold on you, that's not willing to let you go. How you overcome this, where bravery steps in, and it can happen like that. I believe that's why this video is coming forward today, is to show how quickly the subtle shift can happen when you choose to be brave and to face something head on, meaning you choose to accept it for what it is head on, so then you can interact with the truth of something rather than something that's perceived to be real but isn't actually. So I will leave that there for you. Hopefully that resonated and it reached whoever it needed to. That's all I'm being guided to talk on today for this topic. So until next time, do stay well and take care. Please do like, share, and subscribe if you felt that it was helpful for you, and I will see you later.